The Jacksonville Jaguars, yet again, for the second year in a row, was able to get the number one overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft. Coming off one of their worst seasons they've ever had before, after getting their future, possibly franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, they still were a 3-14 team, one of the worst teams in the league, with a horrible, horrible offensive line, horrible defense. Just an overall was not a very good team this year. But do the Jags find ways to improve this year? Do I think they're going to be better, or are they going to get worse? Is Trevor Lawrence going to be able to play in his second year with the Jaguars? Is he going to be able to make the difference for this Jags team? Is Doug Peterson going to lead this team in the right direction? Despite being a losing team, are they going to be at least competitive in some of these games? This is your boy James here, and we're going to take the time to do my predictions on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's take a look and see what we've got. So here's the Jacksonville Jaguars schedule for this year. So they go into week one where they're going to be playing the Washington Commanders in Washington. I'm going to pick the Washington Commanders to win this game. Overall, I think the Washington Commanders, it will be an interesting game to see with Carson Wentz, who is a first-year quarterback there, and having him to play against his former coach in Doug Peterson. So this will be a good, interesting game. But the Jaguars just don't have anything really that can match up with the Washington Commanders, excuse me. I don't think they really have enough to really overcome anything special with this team. I think Washington is an overall, they're a better team. Carson Wentz does have some help. He has Terry McLaurin that's going to be there. He's got Antonio Gibson. He has some good help, and I think that Washington defense is still going to be. I think they're going to be improved than what they were a year ago. I think they're going to be more healthier, and that's going to give the Jaguars a lot of trouble in being able to score points on the board. So I'm taking the Washington Commanders to win that game in week one. Then in week two, the Indianapolis Colts go to Jacksonville to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, we've known for the last 8 seasons, the Colts have always, for whatever reason, they've always found ways to lose miserably to the Jaguars, including last year's devastating loss when the Colts had that opportunity to, if you win, you're in playoff scenario, and they blew it with Carson Wentz and company on that offense. The Jaguars definitely ruled that game in all 3 phases of the game: special teams, offense, and defense. I do think the Jaguars are going to split with the Colts this year, and I like the Colts. I think the Colts are going to be a dark horse in the AFC and sneaking competitive, but I just don't see the Colts being able to sweep any of the teams in their division. Well, I think the only team that the Colts could really sweep is the Texans, but we'll talk more about that when I do my Colts prediction. But I think this Jaguars team is going to they always find a way to beat the Colts, whether if it's going to be in Jacksonville or if it's going to be in Indianapolis. I think Jacksonville does get a win against the Colts at least once this year, yet again, giving them still going to give the Colts nightmares and trying to beat them. So I'm going to take the Jags to win in Jacksonville in week 2 against the Colts. And then in week 3, this is no comparison, nothing to really worry about. I'm taking the Chargers to win this one. Chargers are just a far superior team. They've got way better coaching staff, better offense, defense, everything. It's not even a close game. Chargers win that one. Then in week 4, you've got the Jaguars at the Eagles. Now, this could be a very interesting game, but I'm still going to think the Eagles might win this game because it's in Philly. Philly's a really hard place to play. Don't get me wrong. It's a hard place to play. Jalen Hurts and company and all the stuff that they've been doing this offseason, and we're going to see how their defense really does this year, but I don't see the Jaguars losing this game. I think the Eagles win against the Jaguars in week 4 with all the help that the Eagles do have now with A.J. Brown. You have Devontae Smith. You have Miles Sanders. You have Dallas Goedert. I mean, they're not all great players per se, with the exception of A.J. Brown. I think he's the best player on that team, in my opinion. But I think the Eagles do find a way to be sneaky competitive, and I think they do what they can to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars in week 4. Then week 5, you have the Houston Texans going to Jacksonville. I can see these two teams splitting with each other this year. I think Jacksonville is going to win the first matchup, and I think they will lose the second matchup when they play in Houston. So I do think the Jags are going to split with the Colts, the Texans, and I think they even, we'll talk about it more when we get to it, but I think they could possibly even try to beat the Titans too. I think they could find a way to beat them too, but we'll talk more about that later on in this video. Then in week 6, you got the Colts. I'm picking the Colts to win this one. The Colts are, there's no way that the Jags are going to be able to sweep the Colts. There's just no way that's happening. Picking the Colts to win in week 6 to get their revenge in Indianapolis. Week 7, you got the New York Giants coming all the way down to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. This could be another interesting game, similar to like teams like the Eagles or the first matchup with the Colts. But I think the Giants, I think they're improved. I think with some of the things that they have done in terms of their offensive and their defense has gotten much better. But I think Daniel Jones and company still don't have enough juice, I guess you could say, per se, in the passing game. They don't really have like a true number 1 receiver on that team. But really, I don't think that's really going to matter in this game. I think the Giants can and will and should be able to beat the Jaguars, even if it's not home. The Giants typically usually play better when they're on the road than they do at home. I don't know what it is. I don't know why they always do, but I do think the Giants do beat the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. But it's going to be an interesting game to see. I could see this game going really either way, to be quite honest with you. And we're going to see how Brian Dable does with his offensive play calling this year too. But I think the Giants do win in Jacksonville. Then week 8, you got the Denver Broncos going to Jacksonville. I'm picking the Broncos to win this one. Russell Wilson and company, it's the Broncos. I think the Broncos should win this game regardless. I think this defense is going to give Jacksonville some problems. I think Jacksonville is not going to be able to really score much on this team. I think Russell Wilson is really going to dice up on the Jacksonville defense. It's not even really a close game for either one of these teams. And then you've got the Raiders going to Jacksonville. I'm picking the Raiders to win that game as well. The Raiders are definitely improving every day. They have a good coach. In fact, I really think they have the better coach in this matchup. Derek Carr should have a ball day. The last time these two met, I don't think Derek Carr will ever forget. The Jags came all the way to Oakland when the Raiders were still playing in Oakland at the time, and lost to them in the last few seconds of the game, ending. That was their last game in Oakland, losing to the Jaguars. I don't think Derek Carr is going to let that happen again. I think he remembers that, and I don't think he's going to let the Jaguars beat him. And I think that Raiders defense has improved since then. They have a really underrated defense. So I think the Raiders should avenge their loss from the Jags from 3 seasons ago and win that game pretty handily. Then Kansas City, no question about it. Far superior team, far superior coaching staff. Even without Tyreek Hill, they're still a better team. The Chiefs are going to beat the Jags no matter what. Then you're coming off the bye week in week 11. You have week 11 bye week, and you're looking at a record of 2-8. So you're already not really probably even being considered to be in the playoffs, because then you look at the rest of their schedule. Some of these teams that they do have can be winnable games for them. But let's analyze and see. You got week 12, you got the Ravens at the Jags. I picked the Ravens when I did my Ravens prediction video. The Ravens they're a better team, better coach. Defense is far superior than Jacksonville, which is going to give Trevor Lawrence definitely a lot of problems in trying to pass the ball with this Ravens defense. So I'm picking the Ravens to beat the Jags in week 12. Then week 13, the Jags go to the Detroit Lions. Now, this is a game where this game could go either way. I really want to pick Detroit to win some games this year. And I think this is one of the games that Detroit can win this year. I think Detroit is doing. They're a feisty team. They have had some improvements during the draft, and they did make some improvements during the off seasons as well to make their roster even a little bit better. It might be a little more competitive than they were a year ago. But I think the biggest thing here is their defense is what really lets up the Lions in trying to win some of those close games. While I don't really think this is going to be a close game, but I like this. I like this matchup here. I think it's very good for both teams. But right now, I'm going to pick the Lions. I like the Lions in this matchup. I think they did do some nice things this offseason. They have DJ Chark now, which is going to help out the receiving core. So this will be like a DJ Chark revenge game after being in Jacksonville. So I'm going to pick the Lions to beat the Jaguars. I really want to see this game go to the Lions. I think the Lions really deserve it. They were really hard fighting team last year that really could have won more games than they really did. So I'm going to pick the Lions to win this one. Then in week 14, Jacksonville goes to Tennessee to play the Titans. I do believe this year because a lot of the questions with the Titans, I think Jacksonville does split with the Titans this year, in my opinion. I think in week 14, I think the Titans win the first matchup, but then Jacksonville wins in Jacksonville to beat the Titans. I can see that definitely happening this year. I don't think the Titans are as good of a team as they used to be. And then after releasing Julio Jones and trading up AJ Brown is what's really going to hurt this Titans team a little bit. But we'll see how Traylon Burks does with this team. We'll see if Derrick Henry can stay healthy throughout this season and doesn't get hurt. I think they're going to split with the Titans this year. I think Titans win in week 14 and the Jags will win in week 18 at home. Then week 15, you've got the Dallas Cowboys at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dallas Cowboys should win this game. I don't love exactly what the Cowboys are doing right now. I don't think they really have a whole lot like they did a year ago. But I think the Cowboys defense is still going to give teams problems, especially when you have Micah Parsons and you have Trayvon Diggs. That's going to give a lot of teams some nightmares. But this offense of Dallas is not as good as it was a year ago. So I think the Cowboys still do have enough though to beat the Jaguars. It could be a close game. I can definitely see it being a close game, or I could see a potential upset per se. But right now on paper, Dallas is just a far better team than Jacksonville. So should be interesting. We'll see where that takes us. And then you're looking in week 16, you play the Jets and you go all the way back up to New Jersey to play the Jets at MetLife Stadium. I think the Jets are going to win this game. I think the Jets had a pretty good draft class this year. They're improving every day on both sides of the football. And Jacksonville typically doesn't usually do that great up north. So I don't see them really doing anything special with against the Jets. I think the Jets are just going to be a better team this year. I think their defense is what's really going to really give Trevor Lawrence and company some struggle. So I'm going to pick the Jets to win that one. Then week 17 is the split game. I said that Jacksonville would win the first matchup with the Texans. I think the Texans are going to win the second matchup. And they will win in Houston. So as we're looking right now, I see the Jacksonville Jags being once again 3-14. They didn't do enough in the draft this year to really do anything big to help out Trevor Lawrence. I don't see this team really doing anything. I don't think they're going to be a great team. Do I think they're going to be a feisty team? They might be able to compete with some of these teams. I think some of these teams can be close for the Jags, but there's not really a whole lot of them. There's not really a whole lot that Jacksonville does have that really scares you. I think the biggest thing about this Jags team is James Robinson, the running back, is really the best piece of their offense and probably even on their team as well. So that's going to be tough for Jacksonville to win many games. I don't think they're going to win that many games this year. And And really, the only games, the three games that they're going to win, I believe, is going to be in their division because their division is not so great in my opinion. So that's where I see the Jaguars being 3-14. If anything, they could win four, maybe even five games, but that's really it. I don't see them winning any more than that. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Do you think the Jags are going to improve this year? Do you think they'll get worse? Do you think they'll be right around 3-14 again? Let me know in the comments down below. And for the next video, we will do the I will do the predictions for the Indianapolis Colts.